Welcome to another session of Stelmo's Rants and Raves. I'm Stelmo. Let's just jump right into this. So, uh, you know, I'm a Trump supporter, although maybe some people are going to doubt that because, see, I believe in speaking my mind, and I don't think there's no two people who are going to agree on every single issue. But just because somebody is quote unquote my guy or my gal, that doesn't mean that I'm just going to follow everything they say and do and act the way they want, because that's just as bad as what the Democrats or the Democrat Socialist Party of America wants. That's what they want. And unfortunately, the Republicans played too much into this. And, I'm really disappointed in a number of things that our president has done. And at the top of the list is the war in Iran. And, I'm reading this article that's found in Revolver. And the headline reads, "Everyone should read what this Exxon executive has to say about the oil price surge coming in the next 2 weeks." Inflation is going to go off the rail. And I say to myself, these people are allegedly, at the top of their profession. And somehow, I don't know if that's not the case, or they're just blatant liars. Let's just look at Janet Yellen in the Biden years over inflation. No, there's no inflation. Oh, then the inflation's transitory. It's going to be gone in a couple of weeks. Oh no, it's still here. Oh, goodness gracious. And I don't even know that I remember all her lies that she came out with. Now, I believe she knew what was going on, just like I believe Bassett knows. I think Lutnick knows. But I'm not sure what Trump knows. Granted, I do, and I admit this often, the president is aware of information that we peons are not privy to. But in this case, I'm trying to figure out what's the end game. We got all these forces in the Middle East. We got these ceasefires that are not really ceasefires. The left is doing enough to ruin the English language so that people don't know what one person is talking about. But, here we also have the Republicans doing the same thing. And that's shameful. I've been saying this now a number of times. I don't think most people have any idea what's coming down the pike. And look, you cannot trust the Iranians. We're talking a peace deal, and they're trying to put mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Does that make any sense to you? No, it doesn't make any logical sense. And I think Donald Trump has perhaps been told there's going to be some problems with inflation down the road. Certainly it's started. And I know they're all out there, oh, it's not too much. It's not too much. But you know what? It's only been a short time. Even if somehow this war could end successfully in the next, let's say, 72 hours, it's still going to be a year or more before things get back to normal, if in fact they ever do get back to normal. Because, this is another, just like with the pandemic, was a shock to the supply system. So is this going to be a shock to the supply system. And these things take a long time for their ugly heads to rear up, and it takes just as long, if not longer, to put those heads back in the pit. And so, I hear now a 60-day ceasefire and they're close to a peace agreement. Well, if Donald Trump wants to ruin his legacy, I guess I certainly can't stop him. And that's what's going to happen, because already, if you listen to these Iranians, and I listened to this last night on Tuesday TV, so he was playing some recording. So let's just say that that's in the last 48 hours or something. But they're still talking that there will be repercussions to America down the road. And that's what's going to happen. If we leave them in power, we're going to be suffering through all these attacks when they get their people in here. That's what they are. That's what they've been for 5 decades. So why you want to talk to them and think that they're finally going to come to their senses? Look, they're religious ideologues. They believe, rightly or wrongly, that God is on their side and God is going to deliver them. You hear them always say, God willing. And so you're not going to shake that belief. They think somehow, some way, they're going to win. And you know what? It's starting to look like it. I know Donald Trump, I don't know now, I guess it was 3-4 weeks ago, when the German chancellor came out and said that, the Iranians were basically toying the United States. And Donald Trump got real upset with this, threatened to pull troops and all this other stuff. But the reality, Mr. President, is that's what I believe the majority of people are seeing right now. You're being indecisive. And I don't know what the end game is. Also listening to Tusi last night, he's saying part of the reason that the Trump administration is so hesitant is our Arab allies have asked if we can guarantee the safety of their people and countries if we resume operations. And apparently we're saying, well, we can't absolutely do that. So instead, so apparently these allies have more importance to this administration than the American people, because the American people have already been destroyed by the Biden administration. And now the Trump administration is coming in with the, so to speak, the icing on the cake. And we're really going to take it to these people. We're going to get prices so high that that people are going to, there'll be massive civil disobedience in the streets. And and let me say that talking about the civil disobedience brings me to the second point I want to make about where I'm disappointed in the Trump administration. When what I call the phony outcry, because the loony leftists, they know they get their mainstream media pals in gear and they send them out their talking points, and they parrot these things on the airwaves, and unfortunately a lot of people believe it. But the way I look at it is the Trump administration surrendered in Minnesota. There was clearly civil disobedience there. Just remember how the Democrats all were parroting and were out there talking every single day, 24/7, about the January 6th insurrection. Well, we have these insurrections going all over the place. We surrendered in Minnesota, and now I guess at some point we'll probably surrender in New Jersey. I keep hearing them talk how, if you commit crimes or whatever, you're going to be charged. But only a tiny fraction of the people are getting charged. We all have witnessed one video after another of massive destruction of government property by these hoodlums. And the police are just standing there, holding a line, letting them get away with this rampant destruction. I know the president himself, and this is going back months now, but and I don't even remember where it was, but there was a convoy of federal cars that were leaving a place, and there were protesters out where they were on some sort of like a secondary road, and they were turning back onto the main road, and that's where there were protesters, and they were going around these vehicles. They were creating damage. They were breaking windshields and side windows, and did not one of them was stopped Not one of them was arrested. I mean, there were like half a dozen cars, and there was more than one agent in each car. They could have easily stopped and taken several people into custody, but they took nobody into custody. And until this administration is going to ignore the mainstream media and do what's right for the people, I just see we're doomed, because there's no pushback from the Republicans. They don't have forever. Sooner or later, a lot of these people are going to just sit home and not vote, because it just doesn't matter, it seems, who's in charge. They're all seemingly corrupt. They're spending money up the gazoola. And I don't get this, New Jersey. It's really bad. I don't understand why so many days this has to go in. I mean, we should be seeing videos of the police making massive arrests. You see, those are the kind of videos that are going to keep people away from these places. Many of these people, they're part of the Americans who live paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford a lawyer or anything. They don't want to be incarcerated. Many of them have families. And what they're seeing is relatively no pushback. And with no pushback, they see no reason why to stop their shenanigans. They just keep going. And the Trump administration just hasn't cracked down, at least not enough, to stop this. Now, let me talk about a Democrat. Now, I'm going to go back to a Democrat who's been dead for decades now. But Mayor Daley in Chicago had riots in, I think it was the late 60s. I was a young boy at the time. And how did that Democrat handle? He come out and said anyone with a Molotov cocktail or looting or anything are going to be shot. Tell the police, shoot them. It was the end of those riots. Why? Because those people did not want to die. Now, I don't know that we're to the point yet where shooting to kill is the appropriate response. But it is what it is, and we got to deal with it. And I'm probably going to have a problem with this video because of what I just said. Sometimes, you just get talking and you let your mouth. Now, and let me say, in this country, that really should never be a problem. But yet we have these woke, nonsensical idiots that are in charge of some of these companies. And there are words that they just don't want you to say. And that should be, well, let me look at it this way. See, I always say, the Republicans they don't have winning in their heart. They don't. They're not willing to do any of the things necessary. I could sit here and talk for days about things that are problematic. I don't know how many investigations I've heard of since Donald Trump took office. And when you look at the number of arrests versus all of the crime we're aware of, it's a paltry, measly, tiny number. And it shouldn't be that. It should be much, much higher. Because we've always been told, haven't we, that, you have to have a deterrence to crime. That's why we have prison sentences. But it all doesn't matter if the people don't get charged. And it seems that the only ones that ever get charged is when the Democrats have power. They're willing to wield that power. And people should realize the next time, these are not your parents or grandparents Democrats. These are not. And people are seemingly sheep right now. They're willing to accept all of this. I don't get that. But if these people don't wake up And if they don't start really taking time to let their elected officials know how displeased they are with the way things are going, I don't know. Anyway, every day it's more pessimism we read in the paper, and I apologize for that, but it is what it is. With that, I wish you all a great day. Stay safe. It's a crazy world out there. And every day I think it can't get any crazier, yet it does. But we have to deal with it. Take it easy. Bye-bye.